A superb panoramic view of Table Mountain, putting on its best early summer face for the locals and the thousands of tourists who flock each year to one of the world's most beautiful cities. Things have changed a little since Jan van Riebeck's day, with Cape Town's popular Victoria and Alfred waterfront development a sign of the times. One of South Africa's major tourist attractions, the waterfront blends the old with the new and provided a vibrant venue for the start of the Agip Rally, the penultimate round of the Stanek National Rally Championship. Not even Cape Town's laid-back atmosphere could mask growing tension among the South African rally fraternity, with this year's championship heading for a nail-biting finish. Taking into account that crews have to drop one result from final tallies, an effective 6 points separated reigning South African champions Jan Habak and Douglas Judd, and Serge Damso and Vito Bonafide at the top of the championship table.
Jan, second last rally of the season, everything to go for?
Yeah, I think we're going to try and maximize our points. And I think on this event we're going to put our head down and just go.
From day one right through?
I think that's the best plan for now.
Good luck.
An early declaration of intent from Habak and Judd in the VW camp on an Agip rally that was certain to turn into a war of attrition. Damso and Bonafide in the factory Castrol Toyota Conquest were on home ground, and while they were not factors in the championship battle, 11-time South African champions Sarel van der Merwe and Martin Botha in the Daewoo Lanos were in a position to upset either the Volkswagen or Toyota apple carts. Habak and Judd drew the number 3 slot on the road, with Stanek Fleet Management Rally winners Paulo Piazzamuso and Nick Haddon also in a position to upset calculations, with the pair looking for back-to-back wins in their Sasol Ford Escort. 6 special stages were on the agenda for day 1, with 4 of them spectator-oriented affairs at the waterfront, the Killarney Racetrack and the Milnerton Turf Club. Special stages in the heart of cities and major metropolitan areas have become part and parcel of the Stanek National Rally Championship drive to take rallying to the people. The opening shots on the Agip Rally were fired at the waterfront, with plenty of pressure for the Castrol Toyota factory crew of Serge Damso and Vito Bonafide.
You guys always get asked us about your home rallies. It doesn't really make that much difference, does it?
It doesn't really make any difference at the moment. You know, every year they're using more or less the same area, and this event I got placed nuts, so I don't think there's any home advantage. And I must say the organisers put a great event together. The start in the event, I don't think you could have asked a better place. I mean, the people around, I think it was fantastic.
Superstar Sarel van der Merwe and Martin Botha were making only their second appearance of the season in the little Daewoo Lanos, with the pair likely to run interference in the Volkswagen-Toyota Championship battle.
This has always been a very fast rally, and the roads are normally good. But once again, it's a Serge rally. You know, he's very, very fast on this event, and it's going to be very interesting to watch him and Agip having a go at each other for the championship.
With a little bit of running interference from Sarel.
Maybe we can upset them here and there.
The opening waterfront special stage drew large crowds at what is a natural amphitheatre. It was a short and sharp affair and gave an early indication that the Agip Rally was going to be run at a furious pace. Habak and Judd in the Works VW Golf kit car made their intentions known before the start, but it was unnecessary. A bold and aggressive approach is a Habak trademark, and no one expected anything other than attack from him. A win on the Stanek Fleet Management Rally came just at the right time for Paulo Piazzamuso and Nick Haddon in the Sasol Ford Escort. With 4 manufacturers fighting it out in the Premier Class A8, there wasn't going to be any holding back from any of the crews involved at the coalface of South African rallying. In a straight line, the Sasol Ford Escort is probably the quickest of the kit cars currently competing in South African rallying, with Piazzamuso and Haddon looking in good early form. Local crew Enzo Kuhn and Guy Hodgson were out in the second factory, Daewoo Lanos, and fresh from a 3rd place, first time out on the Stanek Fleet Management Rally. Now a Daewoo dealer in the Western Cape, the talented Kuhn grew up in Pretoria and was hoping for another good run in the tough little Lanos. Also hoping for a good run after a miserable sequence of non-finishes were Italians Etienne Lawrence and Robert Paisley. They ran into an engine problem before the start, and after hasty repairs started out a little gingerly in the Team Total Toyota Conquest. Only 4 seconds separated the top Class A8 crews on the waterfront special stage, with next stop on the Agip Rally, the Killarney Race Circuit. Class A7 champions Chad van der Walt and Cindy Harding took an early lead in the category in the 711 VW Golf and were looking to score their 6th class win in 7 outings this season. Behind them, Jürgen Fecken and Dave Lukowitz had the opportunity of wrapping up the Class A6 championship, with the Pretoria crew making a somewhat subdued start in the Dunair Toyota Conquest. In the Group N category for standard saloon cars, Hannes Grobler and Dave McGregor were firm pre-event favourites in the Vodacom Bridgestone Nissan Sentra, but went into the event trailing Italians Cliff Blackman and Johan Klaassen by a single point. KwaZulu-Natal pair, Tony Ball and Alec Harris, were running at the back of the Class A8 field in the privately entered Bulwer Park VW Golf and going along nicely in the early stages. With a helicopter at their disposal, cameramen were able to indulge themselves with some out-of-the-ordinary footage of the Willem Loh Johan Barnard VW Golf, and they were enjoying themselves. Down at ground level, it was tougher going, with a good Group N fight developing between championship contenders in classes N3 and N2. Cape crew Diffie Moreira and Danny Duval in the Toyota Corolla, Cliff Blackman and Johan Klaassen in the Nissan Sentra, and Dean Saunders and Graham Hooper in a Toyota Conquest were the main antagonists in the battle developing behind the Grobler-McGregor Nissan Sentra. At the front of the field, there were still only seconds between the front runners, with the Piazza Muso Hatton Sasol Ford Escort in the thick of the fight.
Paolo, coming off that great win, how's your feelings for this event?
Well, certainly our morales are very, and the spirit is very high in the team. But I treat the event one at a time. So we're settling in this event and starting to find form, especially with the new notes. We'll see how it goes later today.
The first of the more traditional special stages on the Agip Rally took crews to the Spesbona area, just outside Durbanville. The pace among the Class A8 cars at the front of the field was still hectic, with crews looking to try and establish an early advantage. Teamwork is an essential part of success in rallying, with the long-standing partnership of six-time South African champions, Serge Damso and Vito Bonafide, hard at work in a small and very noisy office in the Castrol Toyota Conquest. Damso and Bonafide have built up a superb understanding over the years and came up with a special stage time that was 6 seconds faster than any of the other top runners could manage. Even then, it wasn't good enough to stop a fired-up Yanni Habak and Douglas Judd from posting a time that was 7 seconds quicker than the Castrol Toyota crew. Habak had promised that he'd be going flat out. He fulfilled that on virtually every inch of terrain from the word go. While the blistering early pace continued, Special Stage 3 claimed the first of the big guns on the Agip Rally. Stanek Fleet Management Rally winners Paolo Piazzamuso and Nick Haddon were steaming along in the Sasol Ford Escort when they clipped a bank, with race cam action telling the rest of the story. Problems for Piazzamuso and Haddon. Enzo Kuhn, running behind the Sasol Ford Escort on the road, was also not the happiest man in the Western Cape. But it's early days for the Daewoo Lanos team in only their second event of the season.
I would have liked it to be going a bit better. We found a problem with the engine 2 days ago on the dyno down here, and we can't rectify it right now. So we're going to run the car as is, and we're about 15% down on power, which means we'll be probably a second okay off the pace.
Despite Kuhn's fears, the second Daewoo Lanos was still running strongly, as was the team total Toyota Conquest of Lawrence and Paisley, and it was Piazzamuso and Haddon who were in trouble.
What's the problem? We broke the steering arm. We touched that bank over there, and it broke the steering arm.
While Piazzamuso and Haddon were stranded with their rally over, local crew Jean-Pierre Damso and Pierre Aris were pushing hard in the team total Toyota Conquest, but Special Stage 3 drama was far from over. Diffie Moreira and Donny Duval came unstuck at a tricky S-bend, with the Tony's Breakdown Services Toyota Corolla slowly toppling onto its side. The car was soon back on its wheels, with Duval warning the approaching Willem Loh and Johan Barnard to exercise a little caution. Once Loh and Barnard were safely past, Moreira and Duval got underway again, and then along came Craig Trott and Johan Seeling in the team total Toyota Conquest. Solid contact with the bank caused enough damage to put the team total Toyota Conquest crew out of action for the rest of the rally. While up at the next service area, technical crew were getting the Moreira-Duval Toyota ready for more action.
Diffie, ietsie gebeur?
Ja, nee, ons het 'n bietjie hard gedruk dink ek, en toe de S-band my uitgevang, ons het net binnekant net gevang en toe klip die kar en toe rol hy. So is nog maar 'n bietjie bad luck, maar hopelik gaan ons voort.
2 more members, if they weren't already part of the fold, for the Roly-Poly Club. Being first on the road has its advantages and disadvantages. In this case, it was a disadvantage for Serge Damso and Vito Bonafide. Scything a path through wheat fields was clogging up air ducts and radiators, with the Castrol Toyota already starting to suffer from overheating problems. For those behind Damso and Bonafide, it was plain sailing, and Class A7 champions Chart van der Walt and Cindy Harding were going along steadily in the 711 VW Golf. Consistency is the cornerstone of the Van der Walt-Harding success story over the years, with the pair runners-up in the South African Rally Championship 3 times in the last 5 years. Going into the Agip Rally, they still had an outside chance of winning this year's championship, and took into the event a 100% finish record this season. Steaming along behind them were another crew with an outside chance of winning the overall championship, but first priority for Jürgen Fecken and Dave Lukowitz was to wrap up the Class A6 title. The Donair Toyota Conquest crew started off cautiously and were running neck and neck with the Team Total Toyota Conquest of Cape pair Jean-Pierre Damso, son of Serge, and Pierre Aris. In the young Damso, rally experts see a possible champion of the future, who was a chip off the old block. At the front of the Group N category, the experienced Hannes Grobler and Dave McGregor were cruising along merrily, with the ever-exuberant Grobler in good spirits.
Nee, ons sukkel so 'n bietjie om vir Serge af voor te vang, maar dit gaan goed. Ons is voor in 'n groep N, ons het nou baie goeie sneltrek gehad en maar die kompetisie is baie sterk. Die manne in die groep N karre roer dit. So ons moet ook redelik roer om voor te bly. Maar ek is bly want dit laat die groep N karre net baie beter lyk en vir groep N is baie goed.
Also going along steadily and running second in Class A7 were Port Elizabeth traffic cop Keith Coleman and Uwe Koch in a VW Golf. Behind them, Italians Cliff Blackman and Johan Klaassen were desperately trying to stay in touch with Grobler and McGregor, with the Team Total Nissan Sentra pair defending a slender 1-point lead in the Group N Championship. While this battle unfolded, there were problems in Special Stage 4 for Jean-Pierre Damso and Pierre Aris.
JP, problems on Stage 4?
Yes, yeah, we're obviously trying too hard, and there by the vineyards we got stuck in the sand, and luckily there's some spectators there, but we've lost like 4 minutes. To catch 4 minutes is impossible.
Rallying has never been described as the sport of kings, but back in Cape Town, the Milnerton Turf Club came alive to a different kind of horsepower. A huge crowd turned out for a super special stage that provided for plenty of action. Super special stages see 2 cars out at the same time on mirror image courses, with rally enthusiasts getting close-up views of some spectacular motoring. Between them, Serge Damso and Cyril van der Merwe have won 17 South African Rally Drivers' Championships, and it's not often that you get to see the pair of them in head-to-head competition. Super special and spectator-oriented stages in built-up metropolitan areas are all part of a drive to expose rallying to as wide an audience as possible. The stages are not always popular with competitors, but they attract the crowds and have an important marketing role to play in rallying. The Milnerton Super Special also produced a battle between the old and the new in South African rallying. Veteran Skalk Burger and Tulo van Fustenhagen in the Godrich Toyota Conquest found themselves up against Kali van der Merwe and André Vermeulen in an aging Nissan Skyline. In days gone by, the rear-wheel drive Nissan Skylines were among the most spectacular rally cars around, but have been superseded by today's front-wheel drive cars. Stars like Jannie Habach and Hannes Grobler first made names for themselves by hanging out the tails of Skylines, and there's always room for a little nostalgia in this sport. The final special stage of the day was back at the waterfront. Etienne Lawrence and Robert Paisley in the Team Total Toyota Conquest slipping 44 seconds behind leaders Jan Habach and Douglas Judd in the VW Golf, but they were happy to be alive in the event after recent misfortunes. Chart van der Walt and Cindy Harding had taken control of Class A7 in the 711 VW Golf and were running 7th overall. Jürgen Fecken and Dave Lukowitz had moved ahead of Van der Walt and Harding, and after problems for Jean-Pierre Damso and Pierre Aris, were at the top of the Class A6 leaderboard in the Donair Toyota Conquest. Hannes Grobler and Dave McGregor led the Group N category in the Vodacom Bridgestone Nissan Sentra, with the pair up into 9th place overall, but only 20 seconds ahead of Cliff Blackman and Johan Klaassen. The end of the day meant a late flurry of work for service crews, with Cyril van der Merwe one of those running into problems.
Cyril, a problem on the last stage of the day?
We broke a side shaft now, but we've been having terrible traction problems all day long, so it was to be expected. We're wheel spinning everywhere. and it means there's still a lot of work to be done on the front suspension, but so far so good.
An overnight lead of 31 seconds for Habak and Judd, with just 1 second separating the Damso Bonafide and Vanemeva Buerta combinations. There were some tight battles developing, with Hrobler and McGregor the lone Group N entry in the top 10. For leaders Habak and Judd, the Agip Rally was going according to plan.
Danny, a good day for you and Douglas.
Yeah, we've achieved what we set out to do, but the car's taking a bit of punishment. I think maybe our pace is a little bit too hard on the car, because there are lots of drains and ruts in the stages, and the shock absorbers are taking some real hard work, and we're having a look at them at the moment. But I think so far things are going well, and hopefully we can keep the pace tomorrow.
Another glorious day in the Western Cape. It was enough to gladden the heart of any tourist, but for competitors on the Agip Rally, it was a work day, with the event moving into traditional Swartland rally country for 7 special stages before the finale back at the Cape Town waterfront. The first stage of the day was in the Darling area, with rally leaders Jan Habak and Douglas Judd once again going straight onto the attack. Despite their 31-second overnight lead, Habak and Judd were in no mood to mess about, with the factory VW Golf kit car really stretching its legs. It was obvious that there was going to be no let-up in the furious pace up front, and it was a simple case of full speed ahead. The first priority for Serge Damso and Vito Bonafide in the Castrol Toyota Conquest was to try and chip away at the overnight lead established by Habak and Judd. The day didn't start off too well for the 6-time champions, with the pair dropping another 7 seconds to the leaders. If the day didn't start too well for Damso and Bonafide, stage 7 was a disaster for Sarel Vanemeva and Martin Buerta in the factory Daewoo Lanos. A lower control arm broke, and with the front left wheel flapping around, it was obvious they were going to lose valuable time on what was a 27-kilometre-long special stage.
We broke a lower control arm, which cost us about 1.5 minutes or 1:20, which for all practical purposes puts us out the hunt. Not that we were ever really in it, but it sort of does that.
With Vanemeva and Buerta struggling their way through stage 7, the Daewoo Challenge was now in the hands of Enzo Kuhn and Guy Hodgson, who were 4th overnight. Kuhn was still complaining about a power disadvantage, but the pair put into action a tactical ploy which they hoped would even out matters.
It's just a plan, you know. We got the problem with the engine and the power, so we're trying to work a plan to get maximum advantage from a clean, swept road. When you get the front cars running over the road, they sweep these type of roads and they turn into almost like a tarmac road. You can hear the rubber squealing on it under braking. So I'm trying to get the advantage of that, and booked in a minute late gives me a 10-second penalty, which I think you know, I could make up again with the advantage.
An interesting insight into rally tactics, but one crew to benefit from the Vanemeva Buerta woes were Etienne Lawrence and Robert Paisley in the Team Total Toyota Conquest. The Natal crew were forced to hastily rebuild the Conquest's motor on the eve of the rally and were trying to conserve the car. After a miserable run of results, they needed a confidence booster and were now up into 4th place. At the service point at the end of stage 7, there were worried looks in the Daewoo camp as they worked on the Vanemeva car, with a few problems also for top Group N crew, Cliff Blackman and Johan Klaassen.
Johan, a good day yesterday, first 2 stages today. How are we going?
Yeah, today we're battling a bit. We're finding the open section distances to be a little bit suspect. The one stage was 3 kilometers out. In the stages we're also battling a bit. The safety notes, we're finding places got a little bit too much detail, easy to get lost. We did wrong slot where it showed a 90 right instead of a double back. We wrong slotted lost a bit of time on Hannes there, so we've got a bit of catching up on Hannes to do. But the safety notes in general, I think if you compare them to the pace notes we ran in the Rally of South Africa, much rather prefer them. This one's got too much detail.
Sarel Vanemeva and Skalkeberger in jovial mood while technicians worked on the Daewoo Lanos, but there was nothing to smile about for Serge Damso and Vito Bonafide, with the Castrol Toyota Conquest parked on the side of the road in special stage 9.
Looks like the overheating problem caught us on this event, so eventually the motor just couldn't keep up with the temperature, gave up.
More stage 9 drama, with the Kuhn Hodgson Daewoo Lanos sporting a rearranged front suspension.
Well, I don't really know. I think the shock absorber actually broke because the car started jumping during the stage, yeah. And you know, it felt bad, so we just slowed down the pace and just drove to the end. And then towards the end, I think it just pulled out of the spring completely.
As you went through the...
Yeah, as I went through the flying finish, the wheel came off, so, you know, I just struggled it out here. It looks quite bad, but it is no major accident, you know, it just happened probably at 5 k's an hour.
After stage 9, the leaderboard had a new look about it. Jan Habach and Doug Judd were around 3 minutes ahead of Etienne Lawrence and Robert Paisley, with Class A6 leaders Jürgen Fecken and Dave Lukowitz up into 3rd place in the Dunair Toyota Conquest. After losing over a minute on stage 7 when they strayed from the route, Chad van der Velde and Cindy Harding were now on the fringes of the top 10 and had lost the lead in Class A7 to Keith Coleman and Uwe Koch. While van der Velde and Harding were on a mission to catch the Port Elizabeth Traffic Cop, Hannes Hrobler and Dave McGregor were in complete command of the Group N category and Class N3 in the Vodacom Bridgestone Nissan Sentra. Spectator points along the route were packed with festive rally followers, with Hrobler always a firm favourite among the enthusiasts. Burley Port Elizabeth Traffic Cop Keith Coleman is one of rallying's characters, but firmly denies that he's a Cyril van der Merwe protege. While Coleman and Uwe Koch were going along steadily and looking at a Class A7 victory, the spectacular Kali van der Merwe, André van Meulen Nissan Skyline was still going strong at the front of the Class S20 field, although the category doesn't score points towards the national championship. Behind the Skyline, Italians Cliff Blackwood and Johan Claassen were still chasing after Hrobler and McGregor, but the gap between the two Group N Nissan Sentras had now stretched to around 3 minutes. Local crew Michael and Ruzenka Weinhardt in an Opel Kadett were among the Class N3 frontrunners and started day 2 in 13th place overall. Veteran Skalkberger and Thilo van Vestenhagen started the day behind the Weinhardts, but a puncture on special stage 9 proved costly for the pair. They now trailed Class N2 leaders Diffie Moreira and Donny de Waal by over half a minute.
I restarted 13 this morning, and I think we just got a broken top hat broken now, and that might put us out for the event, but we're going to try and sort it out and see what we can do.
With a lead of over 3 minutes, reigning champions Jan Habach and Douglas Judd in the factory VW Golf looked to have a tight grip on both the Agip Rally and back-to-back national titles. Enzo Kuhn and Guy Hodgson were mobile again in the Daewoo Lanos and had moved ahead of Etienne Lawrence and Robert Paisley in the Team Total Toyota Conquest. Lawrence was going along steadily enough and was still nursing his Toyota and his own personal back injury. The Van der Merwe from Meulen Nissan Skyline had disappeared with an overheating problem, and that put journalist Ian Shrosbury and Jerry Heriker into the Class S20 lead in the Castrol Toyota Hilux Bucky.
First experience of rallying, but I'm having a whale of a time. I mean, it's really good fun, and the Bucky is a lot of good fun itself, being rear-wheel drive, you know, tail out kind of stuff, traditional rallying. It's fantastic fun.
Special stage 12, and when Enzo Kuhn and Guy Hodgson in the Daewoo Lanos were followed into the stage by Etienne Lawrence and Robert Paisley, there was no hint of the drama that lay ahead. It was when the pair came upon rally leaders Jan Habach and Douglas Judd on the side of the road that the Agip Rally was turned upside down.
We just tipped a rock on the outside of the rim, and it tore the bottom bolt off on the suspension, and that was it. So we had to stop 2 k's into the stage, and we took the wheel off and then drove for the other 15 kilometers on 3 wheels. And that's obviously now put a big dent in our efforts for today.
Kuhn and Hodgson now led from Lawrence and Paisley, with Jürgen Fecken and Dave Lukowitz third, with a bit of a wake-up call around that same troublesome corner for the Dunair Toyota crew. Next through the stage were Chad van der Velde and Cindy Harding in the 711 VW Golf, which meant that Keith Coleman and Uwe Koch had gone missing. Group N leaders Hannes Hrobler and Dave McGregor were now 4 minutes ahead of the Blackman Claassen Challenge, with Skalkberger and Thilo van Vestenhagen still chasing after Class N2 leaders Diffie Moreira and Donny de Waal. Answers were also forthcoming on the fate of Coleman and Koch, with the unfortunate Eastern Cape pair rolling after the VW Golf had hit the same rock that claimed the Habach-Judd factory car. An Agip Rally that had produced late drama after late drama was now into the home stretch, with the penultimate stage the traditional dash through the streets of Malmesbury. In only their second outing of the season, Daewoo's Kuhn and Hodgson led Toyota's Lawrence and Paisley. Both crews were now intent on nursing home tired machinery, with survival all that mattered. Just over 2 minutes behind the Team Total Toyota pair, Fecken and Lukowitz were third in the Dunair Toyota Conquest, with the Class A6 title all but tied up. Back at the Cape Town waterfront, all that was now needed was for Koen and Hodgson to put the finishing touches to the Agip Rally landscape. Chart van der Walt and Cindy Harding were back at the top of Class A7, with Hannes Grobler and Dave McGregor picking up another Group N victory in the Vodacom Bridgestone Nissan Sentra. Skalkberger and Thilo van Vestenhagen made a brave attempt to catch Class N2 leaders, Stiffy Morer and Danny de Waal, with Cliff Blackman and Johan Klaassen losing out in Class N3 to Grobler and McGregor. Habach and Judd were mobile again to salvage 13th place and 8 precious championship points, with locals Pierre Goossen and Eugene Blanche third in Class A6. Behind them, a late charge took Tony Ball and Alec Harris into the top 10 in the Bulwer Park VW Golf, with Morer and Duval 9th overall in the slightly battered Tony's Breakdown Services Toyota Corolla. The drive of the day belonged to Jean-Pierre Damso and Pierre Aris, and they made up 20 places to come home 6th overall. A win for Koen and Hodgson that came out of the blue for the Daewoo camp. A good result for Lawrence and Paisley. Fecken and Lukowitz wrap up the Class A6 title, and a great performance from Grobler and McGregor in 4th overall. With Habach and Judd finally finishing 13th, the overall championship will go to the final event of the season, with the gracious Koen admitting that a large dollop of luck played a role in the Daewoo triumph.
Hey, we needed some good news, so I think it's good for the team. You know, they really deserve to win. They worked very, very hard. Had a lot of things come off on the car, a lot of things we changed, and I think it's a win for them more than for us. It's nice to bring the new car home in first place.
A delighted Hannes Grobler and Dave McGregor celebrated their Group N win with the traditional bubbly, and the prize-giving venue was a little out of the ordinary. It took place in the famous Two Oceans Aquarium in the V&A waterfront, and that all brought down the final curtain on an Agip Rally that never lacked in drama.